Everyone. Welcome to The Path of Me. I'm your host, Wendy Hutchinson, and my guest today is the lovely Keveney Evanne. She is an amazing, I say this all the time, but she really is amazing. She's an animal translator, also a prosperity mentor, and I'm so grateful that you were able to come on today. So welcome, Keveney.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for carving out some time in your really busy schedule. I do want to say that you have been featured in O Magazine. You've been on Fox. You've been in the Elephant Journal.
Yeah, it's been an exciting couple weeks.
Oh my gosh, I'm a little starstruck by you. So,
well, I put it out there in January that I wanted to go big with the animal stuff, and it's happening. So you just gotta ask and you shall receive, right?
Fantastic. I wanted to ask you if you always had this ability, or if it's something that recently came online for you. Did you have this ability as a child, or, how did this unfold for you?
When you say this, you say stability?
No, the ability to...
Ability, okay. As a kid, I saw energy and I could feel it and move it and play with it. And as a little girl, I was convinced I was a medicine woman. And so I would make potions, and I'd put together mud, and I'd stick it all over my friend Dominic, and he kind of, I'd put it on the dog. And I don't know, as I look back, then I always wanted to be Dr. Dolittle. I saw the old Dr. Dolittle when I was little and knew that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. And of course, grown-ups tell you that might not be a viable career. So somehow I ended up in law school. And then when my grandma passed away, that's when a lot of the gifts came back. I don't remember anyone telling me not to talk about it. Somewhere along the line of programming and all the stuff we take on, I sort of got out of touch with it. And then when my grandma passed, it all started flooding back.
With that, I know you were an attorney for 10 years. So you were immersed in the 3D tangible world, corporate world. You're a corporate attorney. So
yeah, I finished law school in 2007 and I left in December of 2016. And my grandma passed in 2014. So really in 2014, I knew that it was time to leave. And I switched from practicing lawyer to more of an HR compliance role. In 2015, and I thought, okay, well, I was trying to make it fit.
Trying to hang on.
Yeah, and just do something different. And, listening to other people in my family at the time, you spent so much money on law school and you really should figure it out.
Right.
And that's when 2014 to 2016 were pretty painful. That's when everything kind of...
Isn't it hard when your soul is pulling you in one direction? But
yes.
All of this, your soul is your heart, right? Your heart is where you need to be, but then your mind and the social programming and all the people, literally all the people around you are telling you you're crazy to
right.
lucrative profession. And how did you reconcile that? How did you just decide to finally take the leap and follow your heart?
Well, my health was, I always joke and say I gave corporate 10 years and 100 pounds. Because my health, I really did double in size. I'd had a lot of cortisol, adrenal, thyroid.
All that stress.
Absolutely. Lots of stress. And, that wasn't enough to get my attention. I kind of just well, this is what happens when you get older. And I wasn't willing to listen, I guess, at that point. In April of 2016, my dog, one of my Labrador retrievers, who was 11 and a half at the time, had a massive seizure. And actually she had 5 in one morning, and the vet wanted to put her down, thought she had a massive brain tumor that had ruptured. And I just knew with every cell in my being, call it a download, intuition, just a knowing that it was my stuff. And she was taking it on, trying to filter it, and literally her brain couldn't take it anymore.
Oh my gosh.
And so I took her home. I just knew if I changed my life, she would live. I took her home against 2 vets' orders, and I just kept hearing, do what you did as a kid. And I just started playing with energy. I started calling in different guides I saw as a kid. I took vacation I'd never taken. And after about 10 days, she popped up, and she just was healed and cured, never had another seizure, and lived another year and a half until she was almost 13.
Wow.
So that was the day I told my husband, I said, I'm going to make a plan. I'm not going to, because he's very analytical also, and he's corporate finance. So he likes to know, how it's going to work. And I told him, I said, December 15th, when we go home to Pennsylvania for the holidays, I said, that's it. That's my last day in corporate. I'm making a plan and I'm getting out. And that was my last day.
So much courage. It took so much courage for you to do that. And I honor you for having the courage to do it. And also, because there's pushback when we follow our heart and live our authentic life, right? There's that naysayer, that family member that's going to tell you you're crazy. I don't know what you're doing with that woo-woo stuff.
Right.
Experience here.
Well, and sometimes, it's even us, because I remember when I left, my husband said, I don't care. I support you. He's pretty woo-woo. He said, do whatever makes you happy as long as you replace your corporate income immediately.
No pressure.
And I said, because he's a money guy. And I said, well, I have to build a business, and I don't have clients. I'm not from Texas. All of my story came in, and he looked at me and he said, isn't that the business you're going into, breaking down those beliefs and those stories? And I thought, oh, okay, yes. And so, I've been way more successful. Obviously, my health is better. I've started to release the weight. My dogs are happier. My relationships are better.
What joy does for you, when you're happy and you're living a life aligned with your core values and your truth.
Mm-hmm.
How life just presents the right opportunity. It's like doors open. It's kind of like you stop swimming upstream and you start to be in the flow. It takes work, of course. You can't just sit on your couch and eat bonbons and expect magic to occur, but it's really interesting how things actually unfold, right?
Yeah, it's lots of internal work and lots of action. And for me, it's all about, I always, I practiced man's law for 10 years. Now I practice universal law.
I love that.
So for me, it's all about the laws, call them natural laws, spiritual laws. It's really using those for a mathematical formula. And I've created more success, even financial success, talking to animals than I ever did in corporate law, which
I love that.
Which is because I'm in alignment.
Of course, it's totally aligned. So let's talk a little bit about, I want to talk about both. I want to talk about the animal communicating, but also you have come up with this beautiful way to fuse universal law and peak performance to unlock your client's full potential and create the amazing professional and business life that they're meant to live. So you've kind of come up with this magic formula. And I know several people who just rave about your work. People, you all want to work with her. Website down below, because she does amazing, amazing work. I know you also work by Zoom. Doesn't always have to be face-to-face. And you also travel once a quarter to different parts of the country and work with clients, right?
Yes, I have clients throughout the country. And so I have, some animal and human clients in California that I go to visit. And I'm from Pennsylvania, so I have some East Coast people I go visit. And then I do Zoom too, like you said.
Yeah. Well, tell me about your animal communication.
Sure.
Business.
So really the animal is kind of the window into the human for me. A lot of times we're not ready. We're not willing to look at our own stuff. We all have an ego, which is pretty strong a lot of times. We have a need to be right that sort of keeps us protected. And so we're not willing to, we just kind of go on autopilot and keep going and going and going. And then none of us want our animals to be sick. So I have people come to me and say, my dog is having this, or I've had 3 dogs and they all have pancreatitis. Well, that's an energy in the house generally, or in the human. And we can work on the dog. I can work with your dog every week for however long you want. And the real magic happens when we work on you. You do the hard work. And then a lot of times when we clear the human, the animal stuff just kind of disappears. Which is really awesome.
I bet your human clients, they have an awareness that animals actually take on the emotional sludge
Mm-hmm.
the humans are bringing.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an awareness around that, but that is so true.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's really fascinating because I also used, I'm all about having an ideal, something bigger than us that we strive for, to benefit the planet. And for me, it's helping people awaken to these spiritual faculties that we all have and we've forgotten how to use. And so a lot of times people who are very resistant to the woo-woo or they don't believe in all that stuff, I'll talk to their animal, and for sure, every time a message comes in about them, and I'll say, well, what happened to you when you were 7? Or your animal's telling me, I had a woman who had a cat turns out it was a heart murmur. And I said, I keep hearing I have a hole in my heart. And she said, oh my gosh, I started saying that years ago because I put my career first. I didn't have children. And I've been walking around saying I have a hole in my heart. And around the same time she started saying that, her cat manifested a hole in her heart.
That is incredible.
So there's always, it's people, once I talk to the animal, they're like, how did you know that? It wakes them up to something more than us.
Yes, powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you probably end up coaching them. So
Absolutely.
There's something to this. You couldn't have fabricated the hole in my heart out of thin air. There's something to this, right? So it kind of cracks them open a little bit.
Yeah, and then they see. I had an entrepreneur in Boston, and her dog that was trained just started barking everywhere, and she was highly successful, high performer. And she said, I don't know what's up with this dog. And when I talked to the dog just said, well, she's not making a decision that she needs to make, so I don't have to decide to go outside. And was just going to the bathroom all over everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
And as soon as I said, what's the decision? And we talked about it. And she said, yeah, I know what I've decided, and I'm resisting telling that person. And the minute she got clear and she told that person, all of a sudden the dog just was like at the door ready to go outside. So they really are trying to get our attention. They are teachers.
Amazing. Do you find, I'm curious, this is a question I wanted to ask you. Do you find that certain illnesses in the dog relate to very specific types of issues with the owner?
Sure.
I know they're related, but like say a dog has pancreatitis, another dog has pancreatitis. The owners, are they showing the same profile of behavior or emotional?
Yeah.
Relation is my question.
A lot of times, like if you look, in the past I've studied theta healing. I've studied a number of different modalities. I don't use them as much anymore. And even Chinese medicine, we know that certain organs are associated with certain emotions. So, right. For example, the dogs that had pancreatitis, one of the owners had just been laid off. He was a high-level oil and gas guy. He got laid off in his early 50s. Didn't expect it. So there was a lot of defeat running in his energy, and the dogs were the dogs don't have the ego. They don't have the ability to just go on autopilot. The animals are pure, and they just absorb whatever's in our field.
Right.
And so they manifest it physically before we do oftentimes.
Wow. That is so incredible. Tell me a little bit, I know you're a certified practitioner in energy mastery.
Yes.
Find spirituality, ancient healing technologies, and cutting-edge science to create success for people who want to be the highest and best versions of themselves. Can you explain to me how that works and how you incorporate your energy work with laws and?
Sure. So for me, and kind of for my studies, I personally find the New Age movement is sort of low vibe. We hear so much about law of attraction, and to me, it's missing a lot of the key pieces. Mm-hmm. And so I tend to go back and read. If I don't go back to the original ancient spiritual texts, I go back to a lot of writings that were written pre-1950. That's what resonates with me. I just find it has a higher frequency, and so I use that. And then I'm fascinated with some of the cutting edge research on peak performance and groupthink and the way the brain works. And so I sort of combine those and then mix in the universal laws in a way to teach them that resonates for us now and still maintains the high frequency of, the ancient texts or whatever it might be. And then for me with energy mastery, I had studied Reiki and quantum and theta and some other different, I kind of dabbled in a lot of different modalities. And, I would do it for a while and I'd feel great. And then eventually my stories would come back, right? Or the lack energy, whatever it might be. And when I finally found the coach or the mentor that resonated with me, she practiced energy mastery. And so, and along with a number of other things. And when we would clear something, it was gone for the most part. It was a frequency that I had never encountered before in any energy work. And so I thought, wow, if I want to be of integrity, then I need to get trained in this and use this for my clients too. So I kind of put my business on hold. I went to California and I got trained in that. So it focuses on, we hear a lot about mindset. For me, there's beneath that is energy and above that is intuition. I play in the energy and the intuition space and just kind of let the mindset flow. So
everything is energy.
Absolutely, yeah.
Reality is created by the energetic frequency we everything happening in our lives is has a direct correlation to the vibrational frequency we hold. It's our being and who we are creating our reality. And so that's hard probably for people to really acknowledge, because if things are falling apart in their lives, who wants to own that, right?
Yeah. I always say one thing you can count on is your external world is 100% a perfect carbon copy of your internal energetics. And so the first thing I'll tell people is if you're not ready to take 100% responsibility for what you've created up until this point, good, bad, and ugly, I'm not your girl. Because I'm all about we've got to take responsibility for it. We've got to find the lessons, find the grace, and even the stuff that looks ugly to really be able to rise above it.
And there's always a gift.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, it's really the universe. All of that crap is the universe pushing you. That is pushing you. That's what it is. It's just adjusting your compass slightly, and people fight it, They fight it so much. They're like,
right, we get into that resistance.
For this job or this whatever it is. Really, if they could just surrender.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot easier.
Well, and working, law of non-resistance, right? Just working with, really, for me, it always goes back to the universal law. And if we just learn, I say just as in it's easy, it's learning, understanding what the laws are and really learning to live in alignment with them. And then that's when stuff really starts to flow.
Right. What are some of the main universal laws that you find, the common ones that come up for your clients that you're trying to really work around or help them work through?
Yeah, so I usually start with law of increase because it's very similar to law of attraction, yet a lot of people haven't worked with it. And it's just where we put our attention, that will increase. So if you think about, a very basic example, if you decide that you're going to go buy a black Mercedes, all of a sudden you're out on the road and you look around, it's like, man, everyone drives a black Mercedes.
Everywhere, right?
Right? It's all you see.
Yeah.
Because we filter so much that we're, and the same thing with, the example of credit card debt, we always are thinking about getting to zero, paying it off. Well, if the focus is always on zero or the debt, that's what grows. Well, with zero, we don't want more zero. We want a lot of abundance to come in.
To receiving an abundance flowing in versus paying the debt off. It's like money coming in versus debt.
Right. And you might have
debt to go pay it off, right? Like even if you pay it off, right? Is it like a yo-yo? Like you keep focusing on that so it keeps going up and down?
Yeah. So it's people, if you always say, I want to be debt free, you may have an influx of money and you may pay off the debt. And then if your focus is then still, I'm debt free. Well, in order to be debt free, we have to continue to have debt, pay it off, have debt. So that's what people get in the credit card cycle.
It's a vicious cycle then.
Right. Versus if we decide I'm the master of my finances, something more powerful like that. And it doesn't matter if you owe, you can owe $100,000 and have $10,000 in the bank. Focus on the $10,000. Let that grow, not what's going out.
That makes sense. That makes sense. What has been the biggest challenge you've had to overcome in embracing this journey? And how by, taking this leap of faith and creating this incredible business?
I think one of the biggest challenge is the more clear I become, the more tapped in I become, the more quickly the universe kind of slaps me in the face when I'm out of alignment or gets the attention, right? So it's not the little nudges anymore. It's when I'm going against my internal compass, I can kid myself and think, oh, it'll be okay. I can, sit with these women and observe the gossip as opposed to take part in it, right? No, sure enough, I'll get slapped in the, something will happen.
Get slammed.
Yeah, you'll get slammed, right? So it's really about being clear all the time. And I think too, it's tricky to see, when we start to elevate, the only way to really change the people around us is to change us first, right? And then they have the opportunity to rise up or not. We can hold space for them. We can't change them. And so it's interesting to see different friendships, how they evolve, and family relationships.
I think if we change ourselves, all our relationships change and shift. And we lose relationships too, because as we stay and we become more in alignment with our truth, people that maybe we have hung on to because they were lifelong friends or whatever the story is, right? You feel obligated.
Yeah.
Notice that there's definitely an attrition that happens. People kind of fall away that aren't kind of in the same vibration that we're.
Right. And I think that's been the toughest part, is to accept without judgment that there might be people that, would otherwise fall out. Yet, if they're a close family member or a friend we've had since we were children, maybe we choose to keep them in our life. We just have to be more conscious of what we're sharing sometimes. So that's been a tricky lesson to kind of know what's too much and what's not enough to share.
Exactly. And everybody has a different threshold for what we do. So
right.
Of my relatives, it's like I share nothing, and with that.
Yes.
And then some you can sit down and really have an honest conversation about what we see.
And it always surprises me who, it's funny, I have an aunt in San Diego, and she's, my grandmother was really my person. I mean, I talked to her every day. I was very close with my maternal grandmother, and her sister is now the matriarch left in the family. And I've gotten to see her a little more as I go to California more often. And, she just happens to be Jehovah's Witness. And so the rest of my family is not. And her story is really interesting, how she came to be that. But, when I went to visit her, my family in Pennsylvania was kind of saying, well, don't tell her what you're up to. She'll think you're this, that, or whatever.
Right.
And when I went and I talked to her, of all of my family, she was the most understanding and accepting. And she said, well, we believe the same stuff. We just use different words. And I thought that was, our philosophies were so in alignment.
That's amazing.
And when we talked about what we felt was going on in the planet and the political spectrum and different things, we were so aligned. Yet, had I listened to everybody else's stories of don't share, I would never have had that experience. Right. Awesome.
Well, I think you're a woman that follows your intuition, and I kind of do as well. I mean, you have a sense of how far you can go, right?
Yeah, I think when you're doing the work and when you're playing in the energy space all day, every day, it's really painful not to trust your gut, right?
Well, and I think also to live in aligned and to live a life that in alignment with our heart and our truth, we are required to speak our truth with integrity and love, right?
Yes.
And not suppress how we feel or how our dim. Like one of my main lessons was how to stop dimming my light.
Right.
We're here to dim our light. We are here to do this work as light workers that we both are, healers.
Mm-hmm.
That requires some courage because you have to actually take that mask off, you know. It's difficult sometimes.
And I feel like there's an obligation sometimes. You know, last year, I'm in a group of women, and every year, you know, we pick a word for the year. And last year, my word was disruption. And I said, you know, kind disruption, but a disruption. Because I felt I had an obligation to show people a different way. They can try it on, they can throw it away if it doesn't fit. I'm not there to change their mind. And when we start to hear, especially as entrepreneurs, there's so much lack energy a lot of time in the space. And we start to, you know, even experts will tell you, well, you have to touch people 8 times before they buy, or you have to sell them a low dollar item, you know. And so I felt I had an obligation to say, if that's your belief, sure. And that doesn't have to be the way it is. So I definitely
rock the boat.
Waves.
Rock the boat. But you know what I found is everything you believe is true. If you really believe that, then that actually is true for you. You do it.
Right, your beliefs become the truth.
Times, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Different mindset. You know, I'm just, clients are lined up and coming to me, and they're going to come through referrals, and I don't have to touch a client 8 times, and that's how mine works, and yours too, I'm sure. You know? Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, it's funny because you mentioned my probably tagline should be stay out of the how. You know, I always say the minute we go into the analytical mind of how am I going to figure it out, that's where we stop. And it was really funny because I have an awesome, amazing media PR guy I work with, and he said we were debriefing about the Fox News on 2 Thursdays ago, and I said, you know, I really want to be in Oprah's magazine. And he said, okay, well, we should probably pitch online first. I'm not really sure how that works. I'll have to figure out how. And I just said, leave the how to me. Just be open, be receptive, you know, watch for something. Literally the next day, he got a query in his inbox from the O Magazine online about crystals of all things. And so I was like, yep, I'll do it.
I love it.
And so
what you've become, Keveney, is an incredible manifester.
Well, we're all incredible manifestors.
Well, we are.
We're always manifesting. It's just, are we manifesting what we want or what we don't want?
Right, but we also have to be in a certain vibration. We have to be in a certain and hold a certain vibration to manifest instantly what we're putting out, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, to manifest the higher, I think.
Absolutely.
You have to be clear, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm referring to. But what I get a lot is trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
Trust the process, because I used to want to control the process, not trust the process. So I've had this huge shift, which means surrendering the attachment to the how and know that this is going to be delivered to me.
Right. It's being in that expectation. It's holding that space, always expecting what we want, and losing the attachment if we don't get it. It's tricky.
Exactly. Also, I decided to stop having to choose either or. I've changed that to and. I can have this and that.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be, you know, a trip to Hawaii or a trip to Paris. I'm like, no, I can have both, you know. I can do this and I can have that, and the universe is going to bring this to me, and it's going to work out, you know.
Right.
Just, I think, hold that space and that energy of abundance and faith.
Mm-hmm.
When those two things marry, like, so much magic can happen in your life.
Right. Yeah. And it's about clearing out our stuff, our story, our limiting beliefs. You know, we're the only one that's limiting us. And I think,
right.
You know, I talk a lot with clients about the if this, then that energy, which is similar to the or. And it's a sticky energy. because we're not in action, we're waiting. You know, we can talk about divine timing, which I believe is real, and where's the line between kind of blissing out and thinking, well, if it was supposed to happen, it would have happened, and I'll leave it to fate, versus really being in action. And then when it doesn't come, figuring out, well, what didn't we do, and adapting and adjusting and moving forward.
Right. Do you feel like a lot of your work is about really maybe changing the programming and mindset of clients? Tell me a little bit how that works.
So for me, beneath the mindset again is the energy. Mm-hmm. So we can think all day positive, think positive all day. We can do affirmations. We can go to therapists and talk about our stuff all day long. Mm-hmm. That doesn't always change the energy. If there's a lack, a worthiness, a limiting energy in our solar plexus, so solar plexus is our subconscious mind. And so I always say we're going to vibrate at the lowest common denominator. So if you are thinking, I'm abundant, I'm prosperous, I have $1 million, and then your reality and your thought and your gut is there's $10 in my bank, that's
the reality that's created, right? It's right. Like we were talking about.
So I'm all about going beneath the mindset, just clearing that energy. And then the mindset, if you clear the energy and you tap into your higher self, universal mind, God, source, Brahman, whatever you want to call it, then everything can flow. Your mindset, your thought, your money. And
you kind of move energy and clear energy blocks in your clients in addition to the coaching. I know that it's a combination of energy work and coaching, and there's a lot of moving parts to this, right? This process.
Yeah, I mean, for me, everything, again, like what you said, everything is energy. So it's all energy. And so some people call me their business coach. Some people hire me to make more money. Some people hire me to get rid of chronic pain. Some people hire me, to figure out what's going on with their dog. But for me, the umbrella is energy, everything.
Right. Right.
So let's clean up the energy. And I work not just, similar to what you do, a lot of different modalities only look at the physical body. I think both of us look at not just the physical body, but what's going on in the field and the morphogenetic chakras. And so I look to all of that also.
Yes, because we are all energetic beings.
Right.
Right. At the core, we're energy and consciousness.
Exactly. And so when we can, work with, law of mind, thought, action, when we can work with the laws, when we can clear the energy, that's when we can ascend.
So what are some of the other laws? I know we touched on, one or two briefly, but what are some of the other laws? I just, I'm so fascinated by these spiritual laws because they really are universal. Mm-hmm. And people don't really pay attention to them.
Right. I mean, we believe in gravity.
So much truth, right?
Right. We believe like if I drop this pen, it's going to fall. Gravity. Right. And we think, law of increase, law of attraction, maybe. Or we want to work on it for 5 minutes and then think that we've solved the problem.
Right. It takes a little longer than 5.
Another really great law for people to get started is law of non-resistance, because we spend so much time resisting. So if you think of law of non-resistance, it's just essentially make little of the obstacles. Do not give them the attention, right? Because then law of increase kicks in and you get more bumps. And so it's looking at the different laws and really going deep and understanding how they work together.
Do you offer workshops on this kind of stuff, or do you do most of your work one-on-one?
I do. So I do most of my work is high level one-on-one, or I do have a kind of, a lot of people enter through a part group, part one-on-one program. So that's really, it's a 90-day program where we have 3 group calls a month and 1 one-on-one session. So in the group calls, I sort of teach the formula of how to use the laws, and we do some high-level, high-frequency clearings. And then in the one-on-ones, we get straight to, okay, what is stopping you? Is it worthiness? Is it lack? What's showing up from your childhood that you've taken on and created a story and a need to be right about that you can clear so you can let it go?
It's amazing how pervasive that worthiness piece.
Yeah.
In our culture and our society.
Mm-hmm. And like we're not even always aware of it, you know.
Exactly.
I work with a lot of high performers, highly successful people. They've created wealth and they've created, you know, from the external world, it looks like everything's amazing.
Yeah, but internally maybe bankrupt because they're missing that
exactly
self-love aspect and peace, right? That feeling of whole and complete. It's like they're performing, but they're also chasing something. They're trying to fill a need internally with their external.
Or, you know, we all have different, I call them different drivers, but you know, for me, prosperity is, if you think it of as a wheel, you've got love and relationships, you have health, you have wealth, and then you have spirituality. Mm-hmm. So somebody may have a very strong money driver and make a lot of money and look very successful from the external. And they may have a relationship that fractures, which then, you know, when one area fractures, eventually it bleeds over into the others. So we kind of go along on autopilot until something happens. We have a health crisis. We have a money crisis. We have, you know, someone passes away and we, you know, it rocks our belief in something bigger than us. So there's a lot of moving
something
parts.
will always happen in the physical that will force you to look at that aspect of yourself that needs work. That's what I've made true, you know.
Yeah, and I always say, you know, for me, you know, once we think, if we think we have it all figured out, or we somehow think that we're, you know, more evolved than the person next to us, that's when we really need to step back. That spiritual pride piece is really a really deadly energy.
I always find that the more I learn, the less I know. Like when it comes to that stuff, it's like it's a constant evolution, you know.
Right.
Every time you move the needle a little, you realize, oh my God, there's so much more to learn.
Yeah, we're always. I mean, we're here. Right. I mean, I believe we're here on this planet right now. I mean, the goal of being a human, I believe, is you know, self-actualization. Now, I don't know that any humans on the planet right now will get there, right? I don't know if anyone ever actually reaches it. I think our whole life, it's moving towards it. And, you know, you do one lesson and then there's another one or something else comes up. So it's always, you know, it's always a practice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always ask my guests to share, just a piece of wisdom that they've learned in their lives, because we don't get to this place in our life without learning something about ourselves or something that can help someone else kind of move forward. Mm-hmm. And I've found right now, well, this is my perspective, but our planet is going through a huge shift energetically, and as a result, everyone on the planet is shifting as well, because we all have to shift as the Earth frequency rises. All the beings that live on the Earth have to adjust and, you know, resonate with those higher frequencies. And so I feel a lot of people are doing a lot of emotional shedding, going through a lot of transition. What's something you can offer to people who are watching our video today that might help them get through these difficult life transitions that they're experiencing?
I mean, I think in the most simple terms, trust your gut. If you have that little, whether it's a deja vu or that little inkling that this isn't a good fit for me, or maybe I shouldn't be hanging out with this person, or you're trying to go somewhere and every route you take, there's a roadblock, literally, maybe turn around.
Right.
Because really, I mean, we all have that intuition. It's just whether or not, one, we're clear enough to hear it, or we trust it.
Excellent.
And so really just trust your gut, and the more you start to do it and the more clear you become, the easier things flow. And if you're, you know, everything is energy. You know, I believe disease, you know, a lot of disease in the body is congestion.
I agree.
Congested energy. And so the more we resist it, the more, I believe, the more likely we are to create that congestion in our body. So it's like, how long do we want to be in pain. We all get to choose. And some people, resist longer than others. I know I resisted longer. Looking back, I wish I would have trusted my gut sooner. But we have to go through whatever it is we have to go through.
It's all perfect. The unfolding is perfect.
It may not feel it at the time when we look back.
Right.
I had more shame about being a lawyer than I think anything I've ever gone through. And when I first set out,
powerful. What do you think that was about? That's really a powerful statement.
Well, I was from Pennsylvania. I went to law school on the East Coast. When I moved to Texas, a lot of really funky things got triggered. I couldn't explain them. I just started resisting. I didn't want to make a lot of money, even though I was making money. Just a lot of things that I couldn't explain in the physical sense got triggered inside me.
Right.
And so I associated lawyers, right, the law, with a very unjust, corrupt, greedy. I just came up with all these beliefs about what it was to be a lawyer.
Which is what you were. So those
right.
were being reflected back on you.
Right? Yeah. And of course, I had one boss that was very racist and not a very nice or kind human. And I focused so much on, gosh, I don't want that again, that I pulled in the same thing over and over again because the universe doesn't understand no. And I was talking about all the stuff I didn't want and getting more of it. And so it took me a while to, at first when I was, when I started practicing energy, I didn't want to tell people I was a lawyer. I didn't want to tell people what I had done. And then I realized I had mentors and coaches saying, no, you really need to share this. It's a cool, it gives you credibility. And I was like, there's a law school for everybody. That's the easiest thing I ever did was be a lawyer. That was not hard. That was the easiest thing. And so I had so much energy built up around it. But now I've learned that I can embrace it, and it has served me very well. I have clients that I wouldn't have if I didn't have that background. I've had clients say to me, engineers or CPAs or other lawyers.
They needed to see something that they could relate to, tangible, credential, right?
Right.
Even though that's not really
it gives me a ground. I think I'm all about grounded spirituality. So I think I am very grounded. We have to have a foot in both, we're here.
Yeah, we have to live on earth, so we should be grounded.
We're here to get stuff done.
Yeah.
But I can see now that there are people who I work with at a very high level that they'll say, if you wouldn't have been a lawyer, I would have thought you were some crazy guru.
Wow, that's
so
really
I really
powerful.
had to embrace it.
You had to clear that story. You had to clear that story and own who you are and where you come from. I'm so curious, what was it about your grandmother passing, do you think, that really sparked and triggered this process for you? Because something happened when she passed. What was it, do you think, that was unlocked?
Well, I was with her when she transitioned. And so if you've been with a lot of people, if you've been with someone that's transitioned, you may feel or see things that you can't explain in the 3D. And so I felt, the room filled with this warm light, and I almost saw this energy leave her body.
Right. Her soul.
Yeah, exactly. We know energy can't be destroyed. And we're made of energy.
It's eternal.
Go somewhere.
Yeah.
And so that I think was part of, it was right there in front of me. I couldn't shut it off.
Deny it. Yeah.
The other big thing was she was my person. She was the one person that I would tell anything and everything, and that there would be no judgment.
Right.
And so she was gone, and there were a lot of critical people in my life.
Yeah. That must have been so hard for you.
So it was, and I also developed a very strong relationship with her from the other side. So that kicked in, and her mother has come in a very big way, who I never met my great grandmother. But I've developed a really awesome relationship with her now.
Isn't that powerful? How beautiful it is to connect energetically.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're physically not here, being able to energetically connect to a past is such a powerful I want to say gift, but it's not even a gift. It's just it's a powerful experience.
Mm-hmm.
They are able to really help you from the other side. If you're open, if you're open to hearing the message.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people on your team. You know, people walk through this world, this 3D world, and they don't realize how many people they have on their spiritual team.
Mm-hmm.
Ancestors, guides, higher selves. You're never alone.
Right.
Really
and for us to think that we have to figure it out ourselves, it's kind of missing, the highest spiritual teaching for me is we are one. And so if we think it's up to just us, we have to do it all, we're missing a big piece of why we're here, I believe.
Yeah. I love that you're able to still communicate. You're able to really maintain that relationship. That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's exciting and
beautiful. And to also meet your great grandmother.
Yeah, and she's been I don't know why this story is coming in, but it's coming in, so I'll share it.
Yes.
It was a year ago, February. My dad suffered 2 major health crises at the same time.
Wow.
And yeah, he went to he fell over at work, essentially, make a long story short, and ended up, he had a stomach bleed he wasn't aware of and had a heart attack.
Oh my God.
And so I immediately went to Pennsylvania, and my mom and I were in and out of hotels for about 12 days.
Oh gosh.
3 hospitals, 2 life flights later.
Oh my God.
He's been on the mend for the year. And it was modern medicine had its piece, but there came to a point where modern medicine we can't get the stomach bleed stopped, and we can't do what we need to do to stop it because he's just had a heart attack. We can't take him off blood thinners.
Right.
And so one of my really good friends and clients, and he's like a client and a mentor, he's amazing. There were a lot of people in the 3D here that were helping work on my dad and to, everything. We did some interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, it was procedure after procedure and waiting, and we were trying to reprogram his blood intuitively so that he could have the procedure. And at one point, my great-grandmother came in, and she just laid violet petals like all over him. And she said, "I got it, kid." And it was like at that moment, I knew
he's going to be okay.
He's going to be okay. And so that was amazing when, everyone in my family felt the least powerful ever. I had the experience of feeling
getting to witness
powerful.
Getting to witness that and have the knowing. But now, is that something you could share with your family or no?
Yeah, no, I did. Yeah, they know all about my woo. Yeah.
I sometimes share things and there's a lot of eye rolling, like,
yeah,
sure.
Well, and I think
Grandma,
2 things happen, like with, because my mom she's very intuitive. She's not always tapped into it.
Right.
And the piece with the animals, my family has sort of started to be like, well, you can't Google that, like how there's a certain knowing that they have to kind of recognize.
Right.
And, when my dad was in the hospital, my dad's pretty open to that stuff. And he was, asking me to work on him and do different things. And
that's awesome.
Participating in the process.
Yeah.
And to see, it was like real-time feedback. His blood pressure would spike, and we would do energy work, and it would go down. So some of, my family members.
It's like a tangible result.
Yeah.
Happening in tandem in a clinical setting, right?
Right. So some of the naysayers or some of the people that were a little more cautious were kind of piqued their curiosity.
I'm sure.
It was a fun, it wasn't fun.
I wonder if he felt anything when your grandmother came in, or was he unconscious? Was he conscious at the time? Or?
Yeah, he was conscious.
I wonder if he, felt anything energetically. I know sometimes the human aspect is, there could be a lot happening energetically. Sometimes the human put to sleep, so they because maybe they can't handle awareness of
right,
or there's a little veil there, so that's really
well. And one thing that was funny was he did have a dream while he was in the hospital around the same time, where my aunt, that's the Jehovah's Witness, that was my grandmother's sister. He said, I was looking at this light, and there were people around, and I was about to start talking to them, and then Aunt Bonnie came in and started dancing in these crazy pants. And it was her mom, my great grandmother, that was the one assisting. So there was definitely some connection there.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's awesome that he shared that too.
Yeah, it was fun.
Just sweep that quietly under the rug, you know, or something.
Yeah.
That's really cool, Keveney. What's really cool is that you have some people in your family that you can, you know, talk about some of these things with, and that you have support, and how awesome that your husband is supportive. Mine is, guess what, a finance guy too. So he's things aren't on an Excel spreadsheet, which you can't put energy work on an Excel spreadsheet.
Right.
Wild, you know, to kind of, I think, kind of get some sort of understanding or come to terms with what I do. Energy work is a little bit out there.
Yeah, and I've learned too, you know, whether I'm in Whole Foods and I get some crazy message for the person next to me in line, or, you know, I'm with a client and some crazy animal pops in, you know, I've learned to always ask permission. I mean, for my client, I kind of have permission.
Right.
But even, you know, I'll ask permission, and I've learned to trust my gut, and if they're open to me sharing, I'll share. And
yeah,
it's not up to me to decide what to do with it. If it comes through me, I'll share it, and then they can choose to do whatever they will with it.
Information, do with it what they will.
Yeah.
I actually, very early in my awakening process, had that happen, and I did not want to tell. It was to tell this neighbor that he needed to go to the doctor. Like, he was really sick. Like, he was going to die, I think, if he didn't go. And I did not want to do that. I didn't know the guy. I wasn't even, you know, I wasn't where I am today on my spiritual path. And I just kept getting pressed. You know that feeling, that just pressed. And I just kept arguing with myself, like, stop telling me to do. Every time I'd walk by his house, I'd be like, you got to say something, you know. And eventually I wasn't able to sleep. Like, it was just bothering me so much. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll tell this guy, go to the doctor. You know?
Yeah.
But I was like, you know, I had to wrestle with that. Like, he's going to think I'm crazy. I kind of think I'm crazy. Like, where's this coming from? You know, I really wrapped my mind around this. It was hard. But,
yeah, I have a good friend, and she's very analytical. And she's one of the people that said to me, she goes, you know, she said, I never would have talked to you, given you the time of day, if you told me you do what you do, and you didn't tell me you were also a lawyer.
Really?
And one of
that credibility piece, that lawyer piece, really.
Yeah. One of her first questions was, is your law license active? And I've always kept it active because for that reason.
She asked you that?
Uh-huh. And
like, if it wasn't active, then you're not credible?
I guess, like, maybe I got disbarred, and that's why I don't know.
Oh my God.
She had a story. And so we've become really great friends. And she said to me recently, she goes, so, you know, all the stuff that I believe in, that I can see and feel and touch. And she said, all that to you is not real. And all the stuff that we can't see, you know, and we can't explain, that's the stuff that's real to you. And I said, yeah, absolutely. That's the perfect way.
You think you're cracking her open? I mean, you're clearly in her life for a reason.
Oh, she's very curious, and she's come to some of my in the past when I did do workshops, she's come to them, and I have a coffee circle meetup, and she comes to that a lot. And so she's, I've definitely helped her, and, you know, everyone's in our life for a reason, right? So,
absolutely. We learn from them, you know, we're learning from them as much as they're learning from us too, right?
Well, and she's helped me sort of embrace the lawyer part of me a little bit more. So she's teaching me too. We're all teaching each other.
Right. We're all in each other's lives for a reason.
Exactly.
This has been so awesome. I just love hearing your story, and Thank you so much for
thanks for having me. It was fun.
sharing. Do you have any, parting words? We have a couple minutes. Do you have anything you want to say to feel complete around our conversation? Anything? I could make it through the interview without my dog coming down, but there he is.
They tend to come around.
Yeah, he must have known it was you.
Right.
I need to get in on this.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of animals, I mean, I think it's, everything's a mirror for us. So if you're not happy with what's going on out here, if you're not happy with your job, your spouse, if your pet's sick, everything's trying to get your attention. So we just have to decide if we want to, how long we want to be in pain, really.
Yeah, that's perfect. Perfect. Well, everyone, I highly encourage you to reach out to Keveney. She is amazing. I have nothing but great things to say about her. I'm going to put all her contact information at the end of the video. Thank you all for tuning in. I love you all. Be kind to yourselves, and we will talk to you later.
All right. Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.